When the economy collapses, governments don't knock on your door and ask for money. They don't send a bill. They don't raise a visible tax overnight. Instead, they say something comforting. We're saving the economy. And quietly, you pay anyway. Not today, not tomorrow, but slowly, silently, in ways most people never connect back to the rescue. This is the invisible tax pay when central banks step in. And right now, it's bigger than ever. Let's start with why this matters now. Over the last few years, central banks around the world have done something extraordinary. They printed trillions. They cut interest rates to near zero. They flooded markets with cheap money. And publicly, the story sounded simple. Without us, the system would collapse. Without us, jobs would vanish. Without us, chaos. Fair enough. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Central banks don't create value. They move it. And when they save the economy, someone always pays the bill. Usually, it's the people who don't realize a bill was ever issued. So how does this actually work? Let's strip it down. A central bank controls money, interest rates, liquidity. When a crisis hits, fear freezes spending and lending. Businesses stop investing, banks stop lending, markets panic. So the central bank steps in. It lowers interest rates, sometimes to zero. This makes borrowing cheap, very cheap. Then it goes further. It buys government bonds, corporate bonds, sometimes even stocks. This is called quantitative easing. In plain language, the central bank creates new money and injects it into the system, not by handing it to people, but by pushing it into financial markets. Banks get liquidity. Corporations get cheap credit. Asset prices rise. And on paper, everything looks stable again. Markets recover. Headlines turn optimistic. Leaders declare success. But here's the part that never makes the speech. That new money doesn't spread evenly. It concentrates. First stop, financial assets. Stocks go up. Real estate goes up. Bond prices rise. If you own assets, you feel richer. If you don't, you feel something else. Prices start rising. Slowly at first, then all at once. Food, rent, healthcare, education. Your salary doesn't move at the same speed. And no one calls it a tax, but it behaves like one. Because inflation is not just rising prices. It's a transfer of purchasing power from savers to borrowers, from wages to assets, from the future to the present. If you saved cash, it loses value. If you live on a fixed income, you fall behind. If you don't own assets, you pay more just to stand still. That's the invisible tax. No vote required, no law passed, no announcement made. Now here's where it gets more uncomfortable. Central banks say inflation is temporary, a side effect, a necessary cost, but incentives matter. When governments borrow heavily, low interest rates help them survive. When markets depend on cheap money, tightening becomes dangerous. When asset prices rise, politicians feel relief. So stimulus continues longer than promised, and every extra year quietly compounds the cost. Think about it. If prices double over time, your money buys half as much. No one took it from you directly, but it's gone. Publicly, central banks are heroes. They saved the economy. They prevented collapse. They protected jobs. Quietly, inequality widens. Asset owners pull further ahead. Wage earners fall behind. Younger generations enter a world where everything costs more, but pays the same. This isn't evil intent. It's structural consequence. A system designed to stabilize markets ends up reshaping society. And the longer it runs, the harder it is to reverse. Because pulling back stimulus means pain, market crashes, recessions, political backlash. So central banks hesitate, and the invisible tax keeps ticking. Not as a line item, but as erosion. Here's the final question worth sitting with. If saving the economy means quietly taxing purchasing power, reshaping inequality, and borrowing from the future to protect the present, who exactly is being saved? And how long can a system survive when its costs are never openly paid, only quietly absorbed? That's the part no press conference answers. And that's where this story ends.